You're listening to Rewilding Humanity, the podcast for those who've walked through the fire and came back with medicine. I'm Christopher Nkour, artist, plant alchemist, and a woman initiated by illness, grief, and spirit. Here, we rise from collapse, reclaim our wild, and remember who the hell we are. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. I have a great episode for you today with my friend Neale Donald Walsch. But before we dive into the interview, I just have a life update. I haven't released an episode in a little over a month. And that's because I've been really tired. And my system's been struggling. And I think I just need some time to integrate. This has been a challenging year. It wasn't as challenging as the previous year, but challenging nonetheless. And I think a lot of people are feeling this right now. You know, we're getting close to the end of the year and everybody's talking about how we're coming to the close of a 9-year representing the snake and the shedding. And it seems like a lot of people have been going through it. And then this rhetoric is followed up by, but we're entering a 1 year, the year of the fire horse, and everything's going to be amazing. All of this Aries energy. And well, to be honest, I hope that's true. And just in the sense of how it relates to my life. I am also okay with slowing down. I think I'm a little burnt out. I mean, I don't know. It's funny. I always feel like I'm not doing enough, and my body demands a lot of rest. But when I look back at this past year, I'm just like, oh, well, no, I actually did a lot. And I did a lot through a really difficult period of healing, right? And I'm still deep in that process. So I'm going to rethink the format for the podcast moving forward because, I mean, I think we're all just feeling it. We're just so sick. Like, I'm not a fucking content machine, right? Neither are you. None of us should be held to these ridiculous standards of having to post a certain amount of times per week or release a certain amount of podcast episodes in order for the podcast to do well. The podcast is doing well. And I've really been sitting with the concept of less is more, and in a marketing sense, because that's the professional world that I come from. And it's draining, it's exhausting, and the landscape is shifting so much. And I've been thinking about it, and I've actually crafted a new offer on my brand and marketing side of things. And it's a framework that I use to help myself really, how do I want to word it? I mean, I've just gone through such a huge identity shift over the past couple of years. And I've had to ask a lot of questions around who am I now and what am I going to be doing moving forward and who do I serve and what is this new story that I'm now inside of because my life is completely different than it was before. And I really tapped into my soul blueprint to do this, right? So I analyzed my astrology and my human design and my gene keys, and all of that really informed what I already knew that I wanted to put out into the world. But it helped solidify things for me. And so I started doing that with my clients, and they love it because they really get to feel truly seen. And we end up crafting these brands that they just absolutely love. But it also creates like this resonance, right? And I know that that is the energy moving forward. We're all exhausted. We're all overstimulated with all of the content. And it's so much, you guys. It's so much. And I don't want to be part of that hamster wheel. I don't want to be pushing content every 2 weeks or whatever it is just for the sake of it. I just want to be a lot more intentional with the space and everything I do moving forward. And that's not just to honor the energy that we're in, but it's also to honor my energy because I'm just built differently. And as much as I want to just run, and there will be periods where I'll be able to do that again. I usually find Aries season, I get like a little kick in the pants. And I mean, we also need to recognize that it's winter here in Canada anyway, and we're not supposed to be doing all the things. We're supposed to be resting. I have been sleeping so much, like to an alarming degree. I'm getting like, I don't know, 7 to 10 hours of sleep a night, depending on how long I stay up reading. Because I've kind of gotten into this bad habit where I, yeah, I love reading. I love reading at night before I go to bed. And I get into a book and sometimes I stay up a little bit too late. But I've noticed that I've needed naps. I have had a nap every single day the past like 7 days straight. But then that gives me like a little extra boost in the afternoon. And so then I find that I end up working a little bit later, whether it's, on something like this or my art. So, yeah, it's interesting because I couldn't nap for literally 10 years prior to my breakdown. And it still took a while, like maybe a year or so after my incident. And now I'm just sleeping a lot. And a healer friend of mine who went through a similar situation told me this similar thing happened to her. And she's like, yeah, like after I was out of like the panic stage, she's like, I just slept and slept and slept. So that's just what I need right now. And I invite everyone to join me in just going into hibernation mode for a little while. So I don't know. I think this might be the end of season 3. I might do one in January. We'll see. And I know I've promised a lot of stuff on Patreon, but that's another thing that I've just adjusted. So if you are a patron, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Things will be shifting there as well. I'm just having a hard time keeping up. I know it's only one extra episode a month, but my system's just like, and no. But I will still be doing content in there, but just not on a monthly basis, just as things come through me. I still want to do my series on cults. That's happening at some point. So stay tuned for that. I have just the craziest fucking stories. And I think moving forward, I'm actually going to do more solo episodes. It's funny, like, whenever I meet somebody new, I'm kind of an open book, and I obviously, hello, podcast, and just fucking season three. Hi. But, you know, once people kind of get to know me and my story a little bit and where I've been and the things that I've experienced, they're just like, Jesus, like, yeah, you got a lot of crazy stories. I do. I have a lot of crazy stories, and I haven't told a fraction of them on here. So I think I'll be doing more of that in season four. But yeah, this season's been really amazing. The podcast has grown. I got on a top 50 chart in Russia. So thank you to everyone in Russia who has been listening to the podcast. That is, I wasn't expecting that. But cool. It's nice to know that my voice is reaching people from all over the world right now. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what next season brings us. I wanted to mention, I'm just gonna put it out there. This is not a thing yet, but it's just something that I've been kind of playing with. So I've mentioned a few times on the podcast about doing a retreat. But then I had like kind of a download, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I've just been really realizing that a lot of what has kind of brought me back to myself has been through art. And I was recently on another podcast, my friend Alyssa Stephenson. She's been on the podcast in this season before. I recommend checking her out. She's lovely. But we were chatting, and she's like, well, you realize that art is like creating art is somatic, right? It's like a somatic experience. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So I've been thinking about it, and I'm thinking of crafting some sort of program that takes people through an experience where we learn about the nervous system. We layer in some art practices that involve communing with nature to have a base of just learning how to work with plants in a way that feels really accessible and heals the nervous system. Like it literally does. Like I can't remember how many times when I was just like still so sick and traumatized before I started season three, when I had like, just all of the things were just looping in my head all of the time. And I would notice that when I created with my body, right? Like not creating something online, it's a totally different feeling. Like that, all of that would go away and I would have relief. So there's real stuff there, and there's science that I'm unpacking around that. And then I want to support people with rewriting their myth, because I feel like so many people have gone through really difficult things. You might still be in a really difficult thing. And I get it. And I just want everyone to know that there is medicine in that, even if it doesn't feel like it. Trust me, when I was in the psych ward, I was like, yeah, what a gift. Where's the gift? Like my whole life is fucking ruined. And I'm just like, if there's purpose in this, like I have absolutely no fucking clue what that is. And this could not be any more horrible. So I deeply understand the dark night of the soul, and I feel that that makes me qualified to help navigate people through theirs. So again, I am just curious if something like this resonates. Just drop me a note on Instagram because I don't want to create it unless there's interest, but I feel like it's something that is needed at this time. And it's not something that I'm going to create until like next season because I am having a rest. I'm also going to be doing some traveling this winter, which I'm looking forward to, slash a little bit scared because I'm like, oh, I hope my system can keep up. But I'm going back to Malaysia, to Kuala Lumpur, where I lived for 2.5 years, almost a decade ago. It's been a really long time since I've been there. But I'm really excited. I'm staying with one of my best friends in an area that, very close to where I used to live. And I'm really looking forward to reconnecting with old friends. I'm really looking forward. One of my goals is just to go and get all the flowers and preserve them and send them home for my art because you can get bunches. Like I'm talking bunches of orchids for like $5. It's crazy. Plus just foraging, right? Like, oh my God. There's this one place we're gonna go to. I've been once before. It's so beautiful, but it's called the Cameron Highlands. It's I don't know, a short drive outside of the city up into the mountains and the tea fields. And I went there years ago. It was so beautiful. It's like cooler up there. It's not like super hot, sweaty jungle like in the city. And I went on this hike and it was just so beautiful. It was like all misty and mystical. And there were like these cool, like, those animal eating pitcher plants. They had those, like, those were just there. And I'm like, oh my God, maybe I could forage a couple of those, preserve them, send them home, make some beautiful piece of art or furniture with them. So that's one of my goals. But we'll also be doing a little bit of island hopping and maybe pop over to Cambodia, check out some temples. I haven't been there yet. So yeah, I'll have some support. It does feel, I mean, it felt like home for me for quite some time. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens there. Okay, I did not mean to ramble on for over 15 minutes on this intro, but it just all came out and I didn't decide that this was going to be the season finale, but I just did. And so this is the season finale, but I will be back. And maybe there'll be an early episode if I decide to get all the cult stuff out. We'll see. We'll see. I might post in Patreon. So thank you for an amazing season, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It really means a lot. It's been a huge part of my healing process just to be able to verbally express and have what I've gone through be witnessed, even if you're not sitting right across from me. It's a real thing, It helped me process the horrific nervous system nightmare that I went through. It helped me process the nightmare predatory relationship that I landed in right after. So, thank you for being my therapist, guys. Knowingly, that's kind of what's happening here. But yeah, hopefully next season is less about trauma dumping and just some lit ass fucking wisdom to help everybody move through what we just went through and take flight. take flight. We've got huge, huge astrological shifts coming next year too. I want to be so positive and be like, yeah, it's gonna be dope, but we were born for these times, peeps. We were born for these times. So let's stay in it together. And community is everything. We're really gonna need each other. Because the next 2 years, I mean, there's a lot of prophecies and nobody knows what the fuck's gonna happen. Okay, let's leave it at that. So psyched for you guys to meet Neale. He's been on the podcast once before. If you want to listen to that episode, it is somewhere in the archives. I don't just go scroll. But he's lovely. He's one of my favorite spiritual teachers. I don't, and that's something that I'm certainly not going to say often moving forward. That might actually be a huge thing for their theme for next season. Maybe that's when I start unveiling the cult stuff because I'm just so fucking over all of the spiritual wellness bullshit. Like I'm so done with all of it. But Neale's cool. He's cool. He's like, I don't know. I have a pretty good sense of this. He was one of our authors when I worked at Mind Valley back in the day, and when he was being interviewed behind the scenes, he made fun of the founder, sort of. And I was just like, Neale's dope. I love him because he just doesn't take shit seriously. And yeah, that feels really good. So if you haven't read or listened to his books, Conversations with God, it's my Bible. I haven't listened to it for a while, but it was something that I referred to a lot. And I just feel like there's a lot of wisdom and truth in there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to you guys meeting him or being reintroduced to him and his work. So that's it for me. Thank you again for being here. And I hope you enjoy this episode with Neale. There we go. So lovely to have you back on the podcast, Neale. We spoke maybe 2 years ago. I don't know if you remember, but the podcast had a different name back then. And I was so excited to talk to you, as I am again. So thank you so much for generously coming back on and giving me this little bit of time to chat with you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to do so. It's lovely to be here with you always. So I appreciate the opportunity to share with you.
Thank you. Yeah, you're one of my favorite spiritual teachers. And so.
Wait. She said one of her favorite spiritual teachers. I know. Okay, I'll tell her. But they don't have to yell at me. I understand. Thank you. But I ever do reply to God. And she just said, one of your favorite spiritual teachers?
Hi, friends. I've got something exciting for you. Rewilding Humanity Unfiltered is now on Patreon with a 7-day free trial. This is a portal where you'll get bonus episodes, behind-the-scenes updates, early access to new content, and a private community where we go deeper into the conversations from the show. Supporting the show is like buying me one latte a month, and it makes such a big difference in keeping this work alive and growing. So if the podcast has been meaningful to you, I'd love for you to try it out. Just hit the link in the show notes to start your free 7-day trial today. I can't wait to see you there. I love how you can be so playful. That's just lovely. We can't.
But you said you wouldn't. You said you wouldn't tell people.
I wouldn't. Well, I just told a whole bunch. Sorry.
Yes. Okay. So I've been playful with Krista. Okay. Now it's out.
I love that. That's actually one of the things that I remember about you. I was introduced to your work. I used to work at Mind Valley, which you were one of our authors there at the time.
And that was when I was introduced to the Conversation with God book series. And it was just so profound for me. All of the beautiful teachings in those books. And it's just something that I've kept really near and dear to my heart. It's something that I'll listen to. I love the Audible versions. I love how theatrical they are and how it's very evident that, God's not playing sides on, being male or female and how both of those energies are represented. I think that's so beautiful. And there's so much. There's so much. It's like any question you could have ever had for God is in these books. And I feel like it's something that I'm just going to come back to over and over again my entire life because there's always something new, it seems.
Yeah, I have this. What's interesting, Krista? I had the same experience.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I didn't write the books. I simply took dictation. So when I read them, I have the same experience that other people have. I'm just reading this information that was given to me. And so I read it with the same level of distance as anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the same experience. I pick up a book, then I go, oh my gosh, oh yeah, right, I forgot about that. So it all feels brand new to me every time I pick up one of the nine conversations books. Most people don't remember or don't know that there actually were 9 books in the Conversations with God series.
I didn't know that. I thought there was 4.
Well, no, there are 4 books titled Conversations with God, but there are 9 books of dialogue.
Okay.
Friendship with God,
Mm-hmm.
communion with God is a dialogue, is a direct message from the divine. Tomorrow's God, the New Revelations, and probably my favorite book, which was not titled Conversations with God either, but Home with God in a Life That Never Ends.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then of course the 4 Conversations with God books.
Mm-hmm.
CWG book 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 9 dialogue books altogether. And changed my life overnight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I remember I think it was the first chapter of the first
Yeah.
book. And it was one of those full body chills. And I think I cried. And I was just like, oh, this is exactly how I thought it was.
Yeah.
I remember being a little girl, like maybe 4 or 5, and having these thoughts. And, I remember my family, we went to church for a brief period of time when I was young, and I was told that you die and you go to heaven and you're there forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And I'm trying to like rationalize this in my like little 4-year-old mind. And I'm
Yeah.
like, forever and ever. I'm like, well, but what if I want to be an eagle? Like, what if I want to come back and do something like that? And it was just, yeah, it was something really difficult to reckon with, especially as a child. And then, hearing the different concepts in these books, it was just like, oh, okay, like there's a level of free will and it's a never-ending journey.
That's my understanding for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. And another thing that I thought was really poignant is I remember you saying this in one of the books where, humans just have this. We just forget. We constantly forget. It's why it's so important to have these books and these reminders. And it's a continual practice. And I wonder why that is. I wonder why we're built to forget God at times.
Well, I think that it has to do with our ability to continue the process of creation. That is, if we never forgot, if we always remembered everything there was to know about all this, there'd be no opportunity for us to recreate ourselves anew.
Mm.
You know, so I think that life invites us to remember, to become a member once again of the body of God by forgetting that we were always that.
Mm.
So it's kind of like, I often compare it to, well, we're all adults here, so I can talk this way, but I often do compare it to the human sexual encounter. I have got a lovely lady that I've been married to for 17 years, but because I don't want to remember everything about our romantic interactions. I want to forget some of those things so that I can re-engage the
Mm.
process, so it can be new again, so to speak. And I can recreate my romantic encounters with my sweetheart as if they were brand new. So, so, and we'll have a little dinner together. She'll make us a surprise dinner for both of us. We have a dinner, maybe a little after dinner and wine, and talk to each other, and we have an actual date, like we're a brand new couple together.
Mm.
And then we have a little moment to embrace each other and to even have an intimate encounter. It can feel not like same old stuff.
Mm.
So I think that's why we forget all there is to remember about who we really are. It gives us a chance to recreate ourselves anew in the next golden moment of now, in the next grandest version of the greatest vision ever we held about who we are.
Mm.
So that's kind of how I at least reconcile with myself to think, and I forget.
Mhm.
I really, what's interesting, Krista? I pick up one of my books, one of those 9 books, and I'll read, a passage in one of those 9 books, and I'll think to myself, I forgot all about this.
Mm.
So it's nice to have that experience of, oh, yes,
Yeah.
recognition.
Mm. Yeah. I love that. And that makes me feel a little bit better because, if I forget and Neil forgets from time to time, then I don't know. There's just some solace in that, and that understanding that level of human nature and that there is a purpose in that too, I think is really
Yes,
beautiful.
yes, not even solace, but actual joy.
Mm.
We can celebrate.
Yeah, I love that. So, your latest book, God Talk, this kind of invites us more to recognize that God is never not speaking, but oftentimes we just aren't listening. So, what shift in awareness or practice do you believe is most effective for tuning into that continuous conversation?
I guess the shift in awareness that tells me that it's always going on. The, the, the divine never stops communicating with us. There's no intention of ever stopping that communication. And that the communication takes place in 100 different ways across 1,000 moments in the average lifetime. Yeah, not just words, that you hear in your head. Sometimes feelings that overcome you, or a level of awareness. You suddenly become aware of something that you had forgotten about, or maybe become aware of it for the first time. Uh, so there are many ways in which we're being communicated with. And so for me, the shift is to just notice that all the communication never really stops. Life informs life about life through the process of life itself.
Mm.
For instance, just using almost a ridiculously simplistic example, people are watching this podcast right now. What do they think is going on? This is part of that whole process, by which God is saying, are you guys listening? I'm telling you through these two people right now that I'm communicating with you all the time. This is just another form in which I'm sending that message. So we have to kind of like stay awake, because the messages come to us, as I said, in 100 different ways across 1,000 moments. So just the idea is to stay awake, which is the fourth step in my 6-step process that I included in this book called God Talk. Wakefulness. Stay awake. Because the messages from the divine are coming to us all the time. You could be, to use another, almost simplistic example, but you're walking through the grocery store and you're listening to the overhead speaker. They got some music playing on the overhead sound system. And there's a song with a lyric that just happens to have to do exactly with what you're dealing with right now in your life. And you listen to the lyrics and you think, oh, the irony of my hearing this song in the supermarket on the overhead speakers while I'm having this experience in my life. But once you get to the place that I've been at for the past 30 years, you realize no irony at all. Just another one of the ways in which life communicates to life about life through the process of life itself. So that's step number 4 in how to have your own conversation with God. Stay awake.
That's really beautiful. Yeah, there's signs everywhere. Your story makes me smile because I actually had a very similar experience recently. I had a bit of a challenging circumstance with a friendship that recently ended in kind of a very abrupt way. And yeah, I was having a hard time processing it or understanding it fully. And I'm driving along and this song comes on. And word for word. And I mean, like, this was a very complicated scenario, and it just described the entire, like, my experience, how this person was feeling, reflected how I was feeling. And I was just like, what? Like, it just word for word, I could not believe it. And then I could believe it, right? And I was like, oh, okay. This is this is a helping hand. That was just.
Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
So we need to stay awake.
Yeah. Do you have any, like, what are some of your most memorable experiences like that, where a sign came and you knew?
Interesting. I think when I met the lady that I'm married to now for the first time, she was brought to my home actually by my son,
Hmm.
because she was afraid of, she was in the circle of friends that my son was being hanging out with. And I had family night. Once a week, I would have family night at the house. And my children would come over, and I would invite them to bring in any friends they wanted to. We play board games or, just have the enjoyable evening together. So one night, he brings over this lady. And she wasn't his age. She was a little bit older than he was, but a little bit younger than I was. She was between the two of us in age. But as soon as I saw her, I took one look at her and I thought, oh boy, here we go again. We've done this before. And the biggest sign that I received was when we were chatting, we're just having a conversation, all of us in the room, and she happened to say something that duplicated, although she had never read the books, but duplicated a statement from one of her conversations with God books. So I snapped my head around. I said, wow, right out of the book, which, when did you read that book? She said, I'm sorry, I don't mean to disappoint you, but I've never read any of your books. I said, you mean that statement just came out of your mouth that way, out of the clear blue sky? She said, yeah, it's just always felt true for me. So to me, that was one of the biggest, most dramatic moments in my life when I realized, oh, I see how the whole process works. It was incomprehensible to me that and then we got to know each other a little bit better. She came around to my house about 2 weeks later for a little pool party. And we had a party. I had a pool. I lived in a house that had a pool in those days. I no longer lived there, but we were sitting around the pool, again, a bunch of those people. But she and I looked at each other and we realized there was more going on here than meets the eye. We weren't being flirty with each other or anything like that. We just kind of like felt that there's something more should be happening. So I looked at her, very hopefully, politely, and said, I don't mean to be inappropriate, but I just find it interesting to be in the space around you. Would you have any interest at all in maybe sharing the lunch with me and having some private time with? She says, I would enjoy that. So we did. We had about 3 or 4 days later, we had a lunch together. Again, it was nothing, hugely like an event in our lives. We simply had a lovely lunch together. But we agreed that we would try to get to know each other better. And then a week later, we had a date. Yeah, we actually had a dinner date. And we got to know each other a little bit better after that. It became close. It became obvious to us that we're very perfectly matched. And then a few days after that, we were going to the theater. We were going to see a play. Both of us love theater, live theater, as it happened. Again, a sign, because not everybody likes to go to a live theater, but we both really loved live theater. So we're driving to the theater to see this play. And this lady in the car turns to me from the passenger seat and says, I think we should be married. Yeah, that was my reaction.
Wow.
I looked at her and I said, you don't want to say that to me twice.
Mm-hmm.
She said, no, I'm serious. She said, we love the same music. We discovered we like the same food. And we both love the theater. We have the same life philosophies. We have the same idea about God. And we're compatible. We discovered recently that we're compatible in some other important ways. She said, why wouldn't we be married? And I reached across the front seat of the car, shook her hand, and I said, done.
Wow.
We flew to Las Vegas 2 days later and came back as husband and wife.
Wow.
That was 17 years ago.
Mm.
So you know what, folks? Pay attention to the signs, to the feelings, to the awarenesses, to the experience you're having in every now moment.
Mm.
Pay attention.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story. Oh, goodness. That's so romantic. And it's funny because, ugh, Neale, I've had a really wild couple of years since I've spoken to you last. Life has been very challenging, very, very challenging. And I honestly went through a period where things got very dark, ended up getting really sick. And I lost everything. I lost my businesses, my home, my community, um, just, yeah, everything that a human being thinks that they need for safety or belonging was stripped away.
Really, gee.
Yeah, it was hard. And I'm still kind of going through that process. I'm in kind of the recovery stage. And kind of in the thick of it. I've always been a really spiritual person, but I find that in times of real darkness, I can get a sense that God has forgotten me. Or I'll try to reframe that and think like, well, there has to be a purpose in this, in this pain, but it can feel so, so difficult. So I'd like to talk about that a little bit, but also to segue into what you just said about your, that beautiful story that you just shared. As I was in my recovery stage, I had met someone, a man, and this was something that was like kind of moving very quickly, even though I had said, I need some space. And I've processed a lot of this now and understand that, oh, okay, there were some red flags, and this is why it's so important to look for signs and to listen to that inner voice, right? But sometimes it can be really difficult. Sometimes we have like these glamours, right? And sometimes there's people that can come into our lives and they end up being teachers, but they can also be really painful experiences. And that's what this ended up being, unfortunately. But there was talk of, wanting to marry me and all of these things. And, but I think I didn't have that deep knowing that you're talking about, right? And, yeah, so I think this is also something that I've learned, and I think for everyone listening too, it's a practice. It's a practice, right? And sometimes we the things that we're really longing for, sometimes they can come in packages that end up being tests, and something that seems like ends up in a scenario that feels disappointing or hurtful. It can also make us stronger too.
Almost always.
Hmm.
But you see, I think the important thing, at least for me in my life, is to remember what the whole process is about. It is, what am I doing here? What am I trying to do here while I'm on Earth? What is the point of this excursion from birth to death? What's this excursion about? And for me, everything changed, of course, when I had my conversations, not experience, because that's when I set aside what I thought life was about. When I thought, from the time I was, 12 years old, I was being taught by my culture that life for me was, get the job, get the car, get the girl, get the better job, get the better car, get the better girl, get the office in the corner with your name on the door, get the building on the corner with your name on the building if you're really successful, and get the spouse, and maybe get the better spouse, and get the better spouse, get the better spouse, get the grandkids, finally get the gray hair, get the retirement watch, get the cruise tickets, get the illness, and get the hell out.
Hmm.
That was my idea of what life was about. I really thought But basically, that was the scenario of the average life. This is what I was seeing all around me in my culture. And it's kind of what I thought it was about. Get through, get through the days and nights with as little damage as possible to myself and to others. And then I had my conversations with God when I realized, oh, life has nothing to do with any of that. Not that those things maybe might not happen, but that's not what life is about. That's not why I came here to this particular incarnation or to any of the incarnations that I've experienced. So after I had my conversations with God, I came to understand that life was about serving the agenda of my soul, which, as I said a minute ago, had nothing to do with get the girl, get the car, get the job, get the house, get the money, get the income, get the stability, and I had to live for a year on the sidewalk to learn that as well. As you may know my story.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about that part.
Yeah, I lived, life forced it on me. I didn't choose it, but I wound up having to live on the sidewalk, sleeping on the ground outside. Where the policeman comes along and taps your foot with his baton and says, move along, move along.
Mm.
You can't even, I say, can't I just sleep here? I'm just not hurting anybody. He said, sorry, it's a public park. You can't stay here, move along.
Mm.
And you go from person to person with your hand out. Could you give me anything at all, any coins, even the smallest coin? If I could get enough people to give me a little bit of money maybe I'll be able to eat something by the end of the day. Because you wake up in the morning without 20 cents to your name. No money at all. So, interesting experience.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came to clarity that it was this experience that we call a physical life, at least in my understanding, is about serving the agenda of the soul, which is to evolve through the demonstration of our true identity as individuations of divinity. And so I began to see each moment of my life, Krista, in a different way. I saw each moment, whether it was a lovely moment, a lovely incoming energy, or an unwelcome moment, whatever, one or the other. I began to see each moment as, oh, wow, another opportunity for me to decide and declare, express and fulfill, become and experience who I really am. That I am a spiritual being. That I am the individuation of divinity. How do I want to demonstrate that in this moment now? And boy, did that ever change my experience of life, both the welcome and the unwelcome moments.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing was throwing me for a loss anymore. And that's why I was able to say to that lady in the front seat of my car when she said, I think we should be married. We knew each other a week. I mean, we knew each other well. We were acquaintances, but we knew each other on a personal level for 1 week. I shook her hand and I said, okay, done. And if I hadn't been willing to, as I like to put it, roll the big dice, I wouldn't have had the 17 years I've just had with this gorgeous, lovely woman who's been part of my life and brought me the best years I've ever had.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, so I think there's a process in place here that has nothing to do or very little to do with our body and our mind. It has to do with our soul.
Mm-hmm.
In my understanding, we're on a soul journey. And that gets back to what you were saying a few moments ago. These things that have occurred in your life, we're offering you opportunities to announce and declare, express and fulfill who you really are. and to expand in your demonstration of that in a process that we loosely call evolution. And ultimately, you turn around after you've had enough of those kinds of experiences and wind up teaching it to others to help them move through their worst moments.
Yeah, that feels very much like what I'm learning and from these experiences. And yeah, I mean, when I look back, I mean, I think of these things as adventure in a sense,
Yes,
right? Um, very, very unpleasant
unless they're not.
parts of that.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think if you can look at life's events when they're difficult as an adventure, or even if they're good, right? I mean, I don't, because of this recent experience with this gentleman, um, I don't feel closed off, right? And I'm still
yes.
open to experiencing
Nice.
something like what you have experienced, right? And it is a gamble. Life is a gamble. And I think as humans we want a sure thing a lot of times. But nothing's a sure thing. And all we can
No,
really do is just roll the dice and watch for signs.
the only thing that's a sure thing, in my experience and my understanding, is that life never ends.
Mm.
The sure thing is that we're going back home to God, which is why I wrote a book called Home with God, the title of which is Home with God in a Life That Never Ends. That's the only sure thing. It's a sure thing that you're going to go home with God, like a change of address, when you decide that your present physical body is no longer going to be functioning. So you go home to God, and then you get to decide whether you want to come back to the physical realm or not. You're not required to. You're free choice. You may decide, there's more I want to experience, or there's more I want to understand, there's more I want to remember, there's more I want to do, or you may decide, no, I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm staying here.
Mhm.
So you get to stay in heaven. I remember I had open heart surgery about 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
70 into my marriage, I had a quintuple bypass.
Oh, wow.
And as they were wheeling me into the operating suite, the doctor said to my sweetheart, "Okay, 3 minutes, just 3 minutes. You can say a few words before we take him in. But we really need to get him in there." She said, "Okay." So the doctor let us while I'm lying on the table with the wheels on it, they're wheeling me in. And my wife looked at me and she said, "You seem a little bit scared, aren't you? A little bit apprehensive? Have you no fear about this? Open heart surgery?" I said, "Sweetheart, only one of two things can happen. Either I die on the operating table, the operation is not a success, and I go home to God and in heaven, or the operation is a success. Then I come home and back home with you. Either way, I'm in heaven."
Mm.
She looked at me, she gave me a little playful punch on the arm, and she said, "Only you could be romantic at a time like this." I said, "You know what? I wasn't even trying to be romantic. It's just really how I feel it. I'm in heaven either way." So I got to come out of the operation. It was a wonderful success. And the cardiologist surgeon said to me, "Congratulations, you just bought yourself 10 years,
Mm.
at least." And so I had 10 of the best years of my life.
Mm.
So, I've learned, yeah, use every moment as an opportunity to say to yourself who you are. It's not about telling anybody else. It's not about showing off or demonstrating anything for anybody else. It's about saying to yourself, this is who I am.
Mm.
And then experiencing that.
Mhm. Yeah. And decide for yourself who you are outside of the societal norms and the pressures.
Yes, which have nothing to do with our true reality.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. And I'm actually quite enjoying that now. It's interesting. I think I don't know, I notice a lot of my girlfriends, like many of us, I'm 41 now and single, and I have a lot of girlfriends my age that are same age and single, and we're clearly not living the traditional roles that have been kind of projected on us for centuries, really. And there's a liberation in that. And yeah, there's freedom and choice and having that ability to just reinvent yourself, right? Like you can reinvent yourself at 60, 70, 80, all the way up until you're ready to go home to God. And things don't have to look the way that society has dictated. And I think that's
Boy,
really starting to change.
I couldn't agree with you every word. I couldn't agree with you more. I agree with every word you just spoken. And you're in a wonderful place. And I wish I had known what you've just said now when I was 41.
Mm,
So chronologically speaking, you're way ahead of where I was, way ahead.
mm,
You're half my age, by the way. You're exactly half my age.
mm.
So you have half your lifetime ahead of you and all the adventures you're going to have in part two of your life.
Yeah.
You know, I met my sweetheart when I was 63 years old. I remember my age specifically because I used to sing the song to her, the Beatles song, Will You Love Me When I'm 64?
Aw.
But it's funny because I really thought at that age, before I met her yet, my time for that particular kind of relationship is over.
Mm,
I may have a girlfriend here and there, but I'm not going to have a long-term relationship. I'm 63 years old, friends. And yet that's when I met her, at the age of 63.
mm.
So you have a whole lifetime ahead of you. If you live as long as I have lived, you have 40 more years,
Mhm,
the second half of your life.
mhm. Or less, because you never know. And that's why it's important to do what you love in the moment.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. I did this silly, it was like the silly online palm reading thing, just out of curiosity. And one of the prompts was, take a photo of your hand and we'll tell you how long you're going to live. So I did that. And who knows if it's accurate or not, but it said that my life expectancy was 70, was it 76? 76 years old. So that would mean that I'm more than halfway. And also, I was happy with that quote unquote diagnosis. I'm like, I feel like that's a really good age for me. Like I've already lived a lot of life and I have a lot of chronic illness and things, and I feel like at that age I'll probably be pretty tired and ready. But it's interesting because as you age and you start to realize that, oh, 40 really is middle age. Most people don't live to 100. Middle age isn't actually 50. Like, just what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Do the traveling, do whatever it is that your heart has always desired, because
Yeah, but remember this. Do what it is your heart has desired, but always remember this. Your life has nothing to do with you.
mm,
It's about everyone whose life you touch and the way in which you touch it.
mm,
Yet when you experience life in that way, you discover that in a universal sense, your life does have to do with you because there's only one of us in the room.
mm, mhm.
We are all one.
Right. Yeah. What does God say about fate?
Fate is an acronym, in my understanding,
Mm,
from all thoughts everywhere. There's no such thing as fate in terms of predetermined events that have no choice but to happen. Because if you had predetermined events that have no choice but to happen, then free will would be a joke.
mm,
No such thing as free will. So my understanding is there's no such thing as fate in that sense. But I think there is, how can I put it? There is a possibility that certain things are co-created by us and other souls in order to fulfill a previously made agreement.
mhm,
For instance, my wife and I have often said to each other since we have uh, very rapid coming together, this was meant. We were meant for each other.
mm,
In fact, we call each other our other. Well, if you saw my ring, we both wear the same ring. The ring has the word OTHER engraved on it silver
mm,
on the front of the ring. I call her my other, and she calls me her other. So in the morning, I wake up and say, "How's my other today? How's my other?"
mm,
So I don't think it was fate. In other words, that we didn't have any choice.
mhm,
But I do think it was an agreement that we kept at the soul level.
mhm,
This is not the first time we spent together. And as we say to each other these days, when we look at each other across the moon, this was not the first time we've been together, nor will it be the last. I often say to my sweetheart, honey, you're not getting rid of me that easily.
mhm. You'll see
If I
her
leave
next
here
time.
before you, I'll see you on the other side.
Mhm.
And we'll come back again and again and again and again. Over and over will we do this thing called being one.
Mm. Mm, it's beautiful. Yeah, that's kind of my understanding of it all too. I really enjoy the art of astrology, and using those systems has actually been really helpful for me. And yeah, it's the concept that we have a soul blueprint, and we did come to learn certain lessons and perhaps meet certain people, but there is always free will,
Yeah.
not necessarily with some of the circumstances that end up playing out in our life. I think some of those things are predetermined in order for our soul's growth and expansion and just learning the things that we need to learn. We have to do that through experience. Um, but there's chance to that too, right? There's so many different possibilities. And so I think it's, yeah, almost impossible to determine something like fate and this is exactly what's going to happen. But I have definitely seen very accurate, events playing out in my life in relation to the blueprint that I have. Um, and not in like a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of way. It just, it happens, but it kind of gives me a roadmap that allows me to navigate some of those things with a little bit more grace. Yeah.
Misunderstanding. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that it serves you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we're getting close to the end of our time already. I have a couple more questions for you. I am curious as to what you think about a lot of people are talking about in the spiritual community that there's going to be a big shift in consciousness over the next few years. Is that something that God has ever spoken to you about, or do you have any thoughts about that?
I do think there will be a big shift. I join those who say that.
Mm.
Um, I wrote a book about it called The Calm Before the Storm.
Oh, well, I have to buy that immediately.
And then the book talks about a major shift in human consciousness, which is going to occur. I said in the next 25 to 30 years. It's not going to occur in the next two or 3 months. But, you're looking before my children, way before my children are my age, before my children are no age, actually. I mean, actually, my children are your age. I'm trying to see before my grandchildren are your age.
Mm-hmm.
Before my grandchildren are your age, I believe that we will be stepping into a brand new expression of our true self at the next level up.
Mm-hmm.
I think that civilizations evolve as a species, and I think our species is evolving. We're doing it the hard way, but we're doing it. And I think in the next 25 or 30 years, we're going to see that very thing that you're talking about. And
Interesting.
I think it'll be part of your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you leave at 76, you're going to say, oh, yeah, I was here and I took part in that expansion of human consciousness.
Mm-hmm. I'm very curious about it. I feel like I'm ready. And it's funny because I'll have conversations with people that it just seems like these types of conversations are much more accessible and received amongst people just that I meet out and about, even, right? Like, I like to get my eyelashes done, and I'm in a very small town, and I go to see a new lash tech, and over the course of our first few meetings, I start talking about this kind of thing, and she's completely on board with it. And it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's already starting. Like there's just there's an openness. People
Well,
are,
there's no question that it started. There's no
yeah,
question that there's an openness. If I had written a book called Conversations with God 50 years ago, it would have been banned, actually.
totally. Yeah, exactly.
So there is a new level of openness, no question about it.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think it's in book four. There's a lot more conversation around what is it? Hebs. Is that right? Am I saying it right?
Yes,
Well,
highly evolved beings,
highly
yes.
evolved beings. Yes. Yeah. And we're starting to see more conversation about that in mainstream media with this. I don't know. I'm hearing this Atlas comment that's going through the Twitter sphere right now. People are talking about it. There's more conversation and contemplation around these things. And I think just there's been a lot of paradigm shifts over the past few years too. And all of that is just creating more curiosity and an openness for people because we've kind of gotten ourselves to a place as humans where there is a lot of discontent. Um, and I think we're just ready for something for the next thing.
I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's really difficult to get to that place in the system that we've created, right? Like we can't rely on systems and government or anything like that to do the right thing in order to heal the planet and go in the direction that we really all, I think, desire and are recognizing that is really important. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to actually get us to be able to shift in that direction because we're kind of at a critical point.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
You said you had one more question.
My very last question. It's so serious. Are you ready?
No.
What's Oprah like? I'm dying to know.
She's a very sweet lady.
Is she? Aw.
Very, very genuine. Very genuine, very sweet, very open, very personable,
Mm-hmm.
reachable. She can reach her. She's not like standoffish. Well, not standoffish in any way.
Aw.
I enjoyed spending time with her, being on her program, but found her to be a delightful, delightful human being.
Aw. That's great to hear. Well, we are at the end of our time. Is there any last thought or message you'd like to leave with the listeners?
Well, I've already, well, if I had a final message, I would say that God's message, God's most important message to the world is, you got me all wrong.
Mm.
So I wrote a book by that name. The book is called God's Message to the World, with the subtitle, You've Got Me All Wrong. And I really invite people to read that book if they think they might enjoy it, because it's stimulating and invigorating and helps us to understand how the way we think about God can determine how we experience our lives. Thank you for the opportunity to share this time with you today.
Thank you, Neale. It was lovely. My heart needed this today, so I appreciate it.
Wonderful. I appreciate it as well. Terrific.
So for everybody listening, I'll make sure that I have all the links for you to explore Neale's work further. There's so many beautiful books that I highly, highly, highly recommend. And yeah, we'll look forward to being with you all on the next episode. If this episode cracked you open, good. Share it far and wide so we can reach more people who are done pretending and ready to come home to themselves.
And remember, if you leave a review on Apple Podcasts or tap the stars on Spotify, you'll be entered into my monthly draw for a bottle of my medicinal herbal oil. It's my way of saying thank you for helping this work reach more people who need it the most. I'll announce winners right here on the show.
To dive deeper into my world, explore Wildcrafted Apothecary and Sacred Art at magicmaven.com. Discover new tools for nervous system healing at mindfulmeds.io, or bring your vision to life with me at the Brand Bruja. All the links and more are waiting for you in the show notes. Until next time, stay wild, stay rooted, and remember, you were made for this.